What's up, Taiwan? I'm Louise with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. The president-elect of Paraguay says Taiwan's development of small and medium-sized industries is a model for his country.
Le fui a transmitir que estos lazos de amistad no es solamente nostalgia, no es solamente amistad, sino también es un convencimiento que en el camino del desarrollo del Paraguay hacia una economía industrializada, el modelo de desarrollo de pequeñas y medianas industrias, de integración de clúster que ha desarrollado Taiwán puede ser una gran enseñanza para nosotros. Y por supuesto agradecer todo lo que han hecho históricamente por Paraguay.
Santiago Peña's comments came in an interview with Reuters. He will take office as president on August the 15th. Taiwan's Vice President Lai Ching-te will attend the ceremony. Paraguay is Taiwan's last diplomatic ally in South America, following years of Chinese efforts to undermine Taiwan's foreign relations. Japan's former Prime Minister Aso Taro has touted closer ties between Taiwan and Japan. This comes amid rising cross-strait tensions with China and ahead of Taiwan's presidential elections early next year.
総統候補の民進党の候補者である頼候補にも今日昼食をご一緒させていただき、台湾に対する決意のほども伺わせていただき、我々どもとしては極めて安心をいただいたところでもあります。
Aso is on a 3-day visit to Taiwan and is the most senior Japanese political official to visit since the early 70s. He's met with President Tsai Ing-wen and spoken at an Indo-Pacific Security Forum in capital Taipei. In his speech, Aso said Japan and the United States should show resolve in defending Taiwan if the country is attacked. Election campaigns are gearing up in Taiwan, and the three main parties are laying out their policy platforms. On Wednesday, the main opposition candidate announced his party's energy policy, stressing support for nuclear power. Sally Jensen has more.
Louise, the presidential candidate for the opposition Kuomintang, or KMT, has just announced his party's energy policy ahead of next year's general election. The controversial issue of nuclear energy is front and center at this press conference in New Taipei City, with Shoal reiterating his support for nuclear power.
我从头到尾没有反对过核电，以核减煤，因为全世界国际的趋势都是用核电慢慢在取代化石燃料。
Taiwan's current energy mix is heavily skewed toward imported fossil fuels, mostly coal and gas. Around 10% is nuclear and a similar amount is renewable energy. Louise wants to completely replace coal with nuclear by 2040 and include it under the umbrella of green energy. That contrasts starkly with the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, or DPP's, fiercely anti-nuclear stance. It has been working to phase out nuclear energy in the country by 2025. The topic is highly divisive among the Taiwanese public, with a significant minority expressing support for nuclear. Other factors for consideration in each party's energy policy are energy security in the face of growing demand and threats from China, which claims Taiwan as its own territory. Added to that are the climate and ecological crises. This has led Taiwan to rethink its reliance on fossil fuels and implement a net zero emissions target by 2050. There's still 5 months left until the election, enough time to see how the KMT's plans to expand nuclear will land with the public. With its energy policy now laid out, the KMT hopes to consolidate its identity as the pro-nuclear party in a bid to win over the country's voters. Ethan Chen and Sally Jensen for TaiwanPlus.
An army sergeant has been sentenced to 5 years in prison for stealing military secrets and selling them online. The sergeant, surnamed Tsai, admitted to his crimes during trial. He'd brought personal devices into his military camp to access materials between 2020 and 2022, while he was serving on the Taiwanese islands of Penghu. He then sold those files to an unknown person online. Tsai must now hand over the roughly $40,000 he made illegally. China has once again asked the Philippines to remove a grounded warship from a disputed shoal in the South China Sea. Manila rejected Beijing's earlier demand. The Philippines uses the World War II-era vessel as a military outpost. On Saturday, the Chinese Coast Guard used water cannons against a Philippine boat delivering supplies to the garrison there. It prompted international criticism of China and has sparked concerns that tensions in the region could spiral. Taiwanese chip giant TSMC is set to build its first European factory in Germany. The move has been welcomed by industry leaders there who want to bring supply chains closer to home. Joyce Sung reports.
It's official. TSMC is setting up shop in Europe. After years of talks, the world's largest contract chip maker has decided to greenlight a new factory in Dresden, the capital of Germany's eastern state of Saxony. The area is a powerhouse of European chip production, with 1 in 3 chips made in Europe coming from Saxony. Building on that momentum, TSMC has said it will invest up to $3.8 billion in a joint venture for the new Dresden factory. The Taiwanese chip giant will own 70% of it, while Germany's Bosch and Infineon and the Netherlands' NXP will each own 10%. The site will also not be making TSMC's most advanced chips, but will instead focus on more mature technologies for automotive use. Some analysts say Europe's strong industrial history will likely be an advantage here.
Even if Germany and Europe maybe doesn't have these big global companies that everyone knows, there are a lot of niche technologies where German and European companies are still leading, including in semiconductors.
This comes as the US and China, the world's top superpowers, battle for global tech supremacy. Both sides have been working to ramp up chip-making capabilities through new laws and by issuing strict controls and even bans against each other. It's caused unease among some in Europe.
Europe is somewhat caught in the middle because technologically we both depend in certain technologies on the US and in other technologies on China. Europe wants to just be less dependent on other powers as these geopolitical tensions rise at the moment.
Aside from governments, private companies have also been moving to diversify production and supply chains. That includes TSMC with its growing list of overseas investments. Until 2022, the chip giant's only factory outside of Taiwan was in Nanjing, China. Now it's building a plant in Japan in a joint venture with Sony, and one in the western U.S. state of Arizona. TSMC has already invested $40 billion in that highly anticipated plant. The proposed fab in Germany now joins the growing list. But it hasn't all been smooth sailing. TSMC has already delayed its Arizona plant's start date due to shortages of skilled labor, a problem some say might also be an issue for its German factory.
德国的工会其实他们的势力恐怕会比美国更加的大，而且更加的强悍。而且不要忘掉，德国本身还有绿党、工党，这些的话都是非常左翼的政党。
Whether TSMC will be able to fill up its Dresden site with the right talent is yet to be seen. But for the time being, the new investment could help build enthusiasm, persuading others in the supply chain to set their sights on Europe. Andy Xue and Joyce Zhen for TaiwanPlus.
The American-owned Chemours company is set to withdraw its operations in Taiwan. Environmental experts have found illegal waste around the company's factory site, and they suspect the company is to blame. Bing Wang reports.
Environmental inspectors examined farmland in Taoyuan, northwestern Taiwan, for illegal contamination. This comes after a landowner alleged that American chemical company Chemours used their land to illegally store the waste from titanium production in violation of Taiwanese environmental law. Chemours announced 2 weeks ago that it would close its plant in Taiwan because the company was operating at a loss there. This pile of red soil was found meters away from the factory without any plant growth. It is suspected that underneath the red soil, 2,000 to 3,000 tons of waste was buried.
今天我们认为科目要走了，要观察，就是不能够再摆烂。
After repeated calls from surrounding farmers to take action, Taoyuan City responded, saying it imposed $3,000 in fines on Chemours in 2016. and in 2019, the company was forced to pay $2,000 for illegally dumping waste on agricultural land. It's not the first time an American company disposed of waste illegally before leaving Taiwan. In 2022, Taiwan Supreme Court ruled in favor of workers at the now-defunct Radio Corporation of America's factory in Taoyuan. More than 1,300 employees developed cancer after being exposed to chemicals there. The U.S. company was also found to have dumped toxic waste, polluting water nearby and wildlife. If there isn't action on cleaning up the land, the Comores case is also expected to go to the courts, as workers and neighboring farmers intend to pursue justice against any wrongdoing. Patrick Chen and Bing Wang for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan is seeing more landslides and flooding as it recovers from Typhoon Kanun. That's as seasonal rains swamp the island's mountainous areas. John Van Trieste has this report.
Whoa! Whoa!
In rural Kaohsiung, mountainsides are crumbling as heavy rains overwhelm them. Typhoon Kanun left Taiwan days ago, but the country south is still under a heavy rain advisory for summer monsoons. The nonstop rain means work crews are busy, cleaning up the latest damage while also fixing the destruction left by last week's storm. On Tuesday, they managed to restore pedestrian access to 3 villages cut off when the typhoon took out a bridge. The damage spills over the border into neighboring Pingdong County. Roads are cut off, and crews have been busy restoring power to several hundred residents. More rain is forecast for the south going into next week, meaning the region's far from being in the clear. Justin Wu and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Meanwhile, 62 people are still stranded in central Taiwan's Nantou County. That's after flooding and landslides in the area left roads, houses and other buildings buried under rocks and mud. One death was confirmed on Monday. Rescuers are working to reach people who've been cut off and deliver supplies. The landslides were triggered by heavy rain from Typhoon Kanun. Nantou County is one of several areas still reeling from the damage. Taiwan says some 100,000 households have qualified for government mortgage subsidies. In total, about 350,000 households are getting the one-time subsidy of about $1,000. Taiwan has some of the highest house prices in the world, but the country's wages lag behind those in many wealthy countries. Critics say the government subsidy fails to solve this problem. As Taiwan's population ages, more and more people are relying on others to help get by. And for 15 years, a charity in the country's south has offered older people with disabilities an essential form of care. Eric Gao explains.
Taiwanese people with severe disabilities rely on carers like these from Sisters of Our Lady of China Foundation to help them bathe. And in turn, the carers rely on this truck. It's a bath-on-wheels service inspired by a similar vehicle in Japan. And it's been helping older people in Chiayi in Taiwan South since 2008. The scheme is available with subsidies under the government's Long-Term Care Plan 2.0, aimed at addressing Taiwan's rapidly aging society. The foundation says almost 30% of people with disabilities in Taiwan cannot wash themselves. The carers and their trusty truck are easing the burden on their families and giving people in need an important way to preserve their dignity. Justin Wu, Stash Butler, and Eric Gao for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. I'm Louise Watt. Take care, and I'll see you next time.